The European Union has threatened sanctions against Twitter after Elon Musk banned a list of journalists, prominent mainstream journalists from Twitter. We're looking at the Times of UK reporting the EU has threatened Elon Musk with sanctions and suggested he may have crossed a red line by suspending several journalists, God forbid, from Twitter. We thought he was the free speech man. We're going to jump into all of this on Truth Bombs. Happy Friday. I'm thrilled to be joined today by Natalie Denise.
Hi.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, indeed. Hey, guys.
So what is your thoughts on Elon Musk banning these people? Let's just give a heads up. It was a Washington Post, New York Times reporter, and CNN.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I think the circumstance, because initially my first reaction was, okay, I understand that we're getting free speech back, but I kind of want their dissenting opinions so that way we can go head to head with people. And initially my thoughts were, why is he doing this? Like, I don't really like the idea of him. But then there was more context. So actually there were doxing, links that were being passed around by these journalists, apparently. I don't believe that all of them were, but I think most of these journalists were. And I think that's why he suspended them. And he even ran a poll, I think, for either resuscitating their account now or waiting 7 days out. And people were voting now to give their accounts back now. But I would vote to give them their accounts back. I mean, unless they are concretely doxing people, I don't agree with that. And I do agree that they need to be made an example of in that case. But as far as banning them 100%, I don't agree with that. I think they should be on the platform. I think we should have dissenting opinions, although they didn't give us the same respect all these years.
Right. And we're going to get into what sort of doxing allegations were involved, tracking of Elon Musk's private jet. And he's saying that threatened the safety of his own son. And this is why he's deleting all these journalists. So before we jump fully into that, shout out to the sponsor of my coverage. So there was a Texas mom, this was actually in Hidalgo County, where an intruder came to her door. It was just, she was at home with her kids. So she hides in the room with her gun, threatens, tells the guy, get the heck away. But he doesn't. He breaks into her house. So she shoots him and calls 911. So police took him off to the hospital. Once he was out of the hospital, he got arrested for, threatening the life of this family. And this is part of why I love the Second Amendment. It protects vulnerable women such as ourselves. It's also why I highly recommend to support the Second Coin. And in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to explain to you how you can get yours for free. It has engraved in bold letters and words, Second Amendment is my gun permit on one side, and Second Amendment, United States Constitution on the other. My favorite engraving is the skull with two revolvers with the American flag in the background. It's a great conversation starter and just a great investment. So you can try, inspect, and judge it risk-free at the link down below, supportthesecond.com. Supportthesecond.com. Check that out. Okay, so let's look at the news of what Elon is saying. It's just like, it's interesting, like he's now the personal dictator of this huge free speech platform. So if he feels threatened by anyone tweeting anything, he can just nuke them.
Right.
So there was this Twitter account that was, I guess, Elon's jet. This Twitter account only tracked the movements of Elon Musk's personal jet, which is publicly accessible information. The public can go and track various flight patterns of a lot of different flights. So anyway, different journalists started to tweet about this account and link to Elon's jet tracking account. Then Elon Musk is claiming that some man in LA started to follow the car that was carrying his young son. And threatened the safety of his son. Now, when news media checked in with LA police about this, they said they don't have any record of this. So it's a little iffy as to
if it was a legitimate story.
But Elon was tweeting, this is what happened, and so I am nuking all these accounts including the jet tracking account, which he previously said will be allowed because he loves free speech that much.
Right.
And then these prominent journalists from big outlets. He even banned Keith Olbermann. We're going to look at that as well. But I want to play the soundbite from last night because there was, the Twitter Spaces section. It's a new section they have on Twitter where you can do audio chats. And someone was hosting one. Elon Musk actually hopped in there to chat with the journalists. Here's the crazy thing about it. All the journalists he banned, a lot of the ones he banned, were in there. There was a loophole on Twitter where Elon Musk banned these people, but they could still access the audio section of Twitter. They weren't banned there. So he's now chatting with the people that he banned. And I was just wondering at what point while he was chatting did he realize, wait, one of the journalists who just chimed in and asked me a question is someone that I just banned.
Oh, no way.
So here's the clip. He ends up jumping out of it. Here it is.
So anyway.
So it's unacceptable what you're doing?
No, what you dox, you get suspended, end of story. That's it.
Elon, I have to ask, I mean, I think what everyone's wondering is it's highly unusual for journalists at the Washington Post and the New York Times to have their Twitter accounts suspended. And it just so happens that it's, the boss in charge, so, what's the deal there? Oh, I think Elon has left. I guess
that's unfortunate because
the answer.
Yeah, I mean,
guess what the difference is there.
Man,
not
I
trying
had
to.
so many. I was raring to go, guys.
I know, I was too.
I was going to order a Cybertruck.
I just want to say, sorry, I don't want to browbeat him. And this is reporting, right? There is value to reporting where people go. Most of what Elon Jet shared was him going to the factory in California or the factory in Texas.
Yeah, so Elon quickly bounced out of that, and then the word is that today they actually shut down Twitter Spaces to fix that glitch so that people who are banned cannot go back in there.
Oh, okay, because I saw a tweet from Tara Bull yesterday. She's one of I believe, the Twitter Spaces host, and she tweeted, "Did Twitter Spaces get shut down?" And I don't even know if she knew.
Wow.
Right, so that's interesting. I did not know that part, that he entered a Twitter Space, quickly exited. So yeah, I guess there is more to that story. That's something that I didn't even know.
Yeah. So look, I think I'm a huge free speech absolutist, and I think when you're a public figure, you have to accept that, like, your private jet might get tracked by some people. But I do think it's really hypocritical. A lot of these mainstream people all of a sudden getting all crazy about this when this censorship has been going on for 2+ years.
Right, that's true.
It's disheartening that Elon calls it a free speech platform and then censors this many people. But when he's censoring people on the left, at least people on the left are getting a taste of what people on the right have been going through for so long. I just want everyone to be able to talk freely.
Exactly.
So let's look at Keith Olbermann's last tweet before he got censored. If we look at, if you click this Twitter tab, JJ. So Ben Collins from NBC has been tracking that. Here's his string of tweets of every journalist who's been banned just in the past few hours. So just scroll down, JJ. Is this tab up for everyone to see? Oh, okay. So let's show this tab. And it's right there on top. Okay, so here it is, everyone. So Ben Collins from NBC has been tracking the list of all the reporters who are getting banned by Elon. So if you go down further, you're going to see there's the @ElonJet that got banned. Keep going to Keith Olbermann. Okay, click on Keith Olbermann's image. This is this one. Yep, this is the last thing Keith Olbermann tweeted before Elon banned him. Olbermann says, "Here's the plan. Everybody retweet the screenshot of the tweet that was apparently got the account of Drew Harrell from Washington Post suspended." By the way, Drew is one of the people who ended up questioning Elon in that Spaces chat when he was supposed to be banned.
Oh, wow.
And Keith says, and recreate the tweet word for word with the link, and link the Aaron Rupert piece that got him permanently suspended. So what Keith Olbermann is doing right here is like the proxy sharing that Project Veritas has been telling people to do since Project Veritas got banned through Twitter. They were telling people to find this roundabout way.
Interesting.
And now the left is doing the same thing that the right had to do. And it's really, I mean, it's good that the left is getting a taste
of their own medicine
of what Project Veritas and others had to do. Like, how can we share this information when we're all getting banned? And so, but it's funny that Keith tried to do this loophole, and so Elon Musk nuked him too. But Elon's obviously not nearly as free speech as we hoped.
Right. Yeah. And I think that we can't create stipulations for free speech the way that they used to create stipulations for free speech. And ultimately it wasn't fair. Right. And I do agree. Anybody can go look up that public information, like the private jets and stuff like that. But, even with you giving me the news that, police are really not really sure, or they don't have record of somebody following his family member, I think that that's also something to heavily consider here. But on the other side, like I can have a level-headed way of thinking of it, because at the same time, it's like, yes, it is public information, but for somebody of a public figure, it's probably a good idea not to share their exact location. But I think actually I was watching Tim Pool, and they made a really good point. Elon Musk has to define what is real time, right? Like, is real time to the second? Is it 5 seconds after? Is it 5 minutes after, right? Because if we're sharing locations of a public figure and it could possibly pose a threat to that person's safety, then, what exactly is constituted as a real time, right? Like, do we do it 10 minutes after, 15 minutes after? What's going to get us banned? So I think that also needs to be defined if he's going to create that type of rule. But it is a private company, right? It is his. So
yeah, you're in journalism ethics, you are taught, because I went to an official J school, you're taught ethics, which means you don't unnecessarily put people in harm. If it's for some reason super newsworthy to track the every move of something, for example, these climate activist politicians who are telling everyone to stop flying in planes, then it becomes newsworthy to show all the plane routes of that public official, to show what a hypocrite they are. But if you're tracking them in a way that puts them at great harm when there's no really newsworthy reason for the public to know, then that's not, you're violating journalism ethics at that point.
Right.
Anyway, the UN responded saying, we're very disturbed by the arbitrary suspension of accounts of journalists that we saw on Twitter. The move sets a dangerous precedent at a time when journalists all over the world are facing censorship, physical threats, and even worse. The EU's Digital Services Act, taking effect next year, requires respect for media freedom and fundamental rights. Well, I hope they actually mean that with free speech in general, because those same European Union has been talking about censoring, dangerous mis and disinformation, which is just an undefined term that just opens the door for snuffing out anything that's not mainstream. So I'm glad they're sticking up for their mainstream media buddies, but I think they're incredibly hypocritical.
Right, exactly. And I mean, a little part of me does, who doesn't feel, especially if you've been banned several times off of social media platforms, like, who doesn't feel like, well, yeah, here's a taste of your own medicine. But at the same time, I'm like, I kind of like, that's the strength of a lot of the more right or conservative sector of people, is like, we actually like debate. We actually like to entertain these head-to-head conversations, and we want to rise to the occasion to have them. So, when I first heard that yesterday, that was the bummer for me. It's like, oh man, like, we can't have, like, we don't want that environment of just an echo chamber, right?
Yeah.
You don't want an echo chamber. And that's part of the reason why I went back on Twitter, right? Because, you know, you do have all of these personalities and celebrities and a mix of cultures and diversities. And so I kind of like that idea that you can either, you know, convert more people to the truth, as well as, you know, have those dissenting opinions and go head to head with people. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like teetering level headed here, but at the same time, it's like the whole picture holistically, we do want those dissenting opinions no matter what, even if we agree or don't agree.
100%. I think that's so important.
Mm-hmm.
In other Twitter news, the pillow guy is back. Elon Musk deleted a bunch of mainstream media journalists, but added My Pillow's Mike Lindell. He's back.
Mike Lindell is back.
I like Mike.
That is hilarious. No, I need to go follow him. There's so many old personalities. I actually saw that Tracy Beans was back on Twitter. She was one of the biggest personalities back then. All these people. Do you see Drano's back?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but Mike Lindell, that's new to me, so I'm gonna have to go follow him after this broadcast.
Yeah, he said his first tweet was, "I'm back. Thank you, Elon Musk." And by the way, all caps, melt down the electronic machines and turn them into prison bars.
Oh my God, was that his tweet coming back? He came back on swinging.
Which is the reason he got banned in the first place, because God forbid you question these machines.
Right.
Yeah. So interesting stuff. Okay, the other big headline: Brittany Griner is posting about her return to America after being locked in a Russian prison for 10 months. Let's look at Brittany Griner's Instagram. As you know, she was a WNBA player who brought a tiny amount of cannabis to Russia.
Yeah.
So here it is. She made this post right here. It's quite lengthy, thanking everyone who supported her as she was away. This is actually her touching down here in Houston. She landed here in Houston from Russia a few days ago. Here's an interesting part of that post she made. She says, quote, "President Biden, you brought me home, and I know you are committed to bringing Paul Whelan home and all Americans home too. I will use my platform to do whatever I can to help you. I encourage everyone that played a part in the bringing me home to continue their efforts to bring all Americans home. Every family deserves to be whole." So I like that she was actually advocating for the other guy, because American, like all the media left and right, just pitted her against Paul Whelan.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that she's saying, like, no, I've got his back. I want him back too.
Right.
But a lot of people in America were like, why was she the first one brought back to begin with?
Instead of Paul. Yeah. Or why couldn't they get Paul home as well?
Right. He was a military veteran who's been locked there since 2018.
Yeah.
After allegedly false spying allegations.
Yikes.
So a new Washington Post article today is saying, quote, "Paul Whelan's fate could hinge on a swap for a brazen Russian assassin." A man named Vadim Krasikov was
traded.
He is the one that Putin wants back. So this man is serving a life sentence for murder. He's a Russian serving a life sentence for murder.
Right.
In Germany. And Putin wants him back. And that's the only way to give Paul Whelan back to us. But this Russian murderer is locked in a German prison in Germany. Is like, wait, why should we set this Russian guy free for you, America, because he murdered someone on our streets?
Yeah.
So it's just this huge international mess. And it just makes me think, I don't really want to leave the country right now.
Yeah, I know. It totally feels like that right now, because it's like, I mean, not like we would do anything to get us in trouble, right?
It's like it doesn't matter. Like foreign nations now see Americans as this amazing little prize to get their way against Biden.
Yeah.
Let's just lock this American up because they're on our streets.
Yeah.
and then we can have leverage against
We
Biden.
have leverage.
So I'm not about to be Biden's leverage. I might just stay home in Texas.
Yeah, I ditto. I agree with that. I mean, there's part of me at the same time I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to travel, but yeah, I agree with you. Like, we don't want to become like Biden's hostages, or I guess the vice versa, right? Hostages against Biden. Yeah.
Yeah. And I asked my Russian friend, like, so is weed like that horrible of a thing in Russia?
Right.
Like, it's strictly forbidden. And my Russian friend was like, no, Russians smoke weed, but it technically is illegal. So it's kind of like the sort of culture that's been in America for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
But that, basically Putin was just looking for any excuse to lock up a somewhat prominent American to use as leverage against Biden.
Right. I guess it worked.
For sure. Okay, switching to immigration news. So we have this soundbite from White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday when she was asked about, taking this border crisis seriously, because as Fox News reports, 2022 border crossings were up 56% from this time last year, and last year set an all-time record. So it is an absolute invasion.
Oh yeah.
And when she's asked about it, she claims that the Biden administration has been doing the work on its own to secure the border. Take a look.
Continue to see political stunts from many Republicans out there, and that's not how we're going to fix this issue. They want to secure the border. We've been doing that work on our own.
They want to secure the border. We've been doing that work on our own.
I slowed it down for emphasis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Jean-Pierre is like the queen of gaslighting.
I know,
the
right?
queen of gaslighting. I mean, ever since she's tempted, she was a temp for Jen Psaki when Jen had her position. Jean-Pierre gaslights like for every single subject. But I think like we've even seen Mayorkas make the same argument that the border is not open, and like these are the most. I mean, the most transparent truths are out there for anybody to see, that the border is surely not secure.
Yeah.
There is a mass migration coming from El Paso right now, from Juarez. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
these are things that are concretely, you can see it with your own eyeballs, with your own flesh, that this thing is a problem.
Right. I mean, Biden admin is setting an all-time record by far as this invasion, and she and Vice President Harris have the gall to say, oh, the border is secure and we've been doing the work. And the same week that Bill Malugin from Fox tweeted this video of the largest single group of all time to cross the border all at once. Yeah. No, that's also this week. Look at that. This is the other thing. This was just today. CBP officers at the port of entry, how do you say that? Nogales, Arizona, have made another major fentanyl bust. 230,000 fentanyl pills, 62 pounds of meth, and 13 pounds of cocaine, all hidden by drug smugglers. Since last Thursday, CBP has seized almost 2 million fentanyl pills. In 1 week, 2 million fentanyl pills. So the most deadly drug out there has been pouring in. That update just this week, and the next tweet from Bill that they're about to show you, of the largest single group, of migrants illegally crossing. Here it is, a huge migrant caravan. Let's hit play there and expand. So 1,000 migrants all crossing at once into America, and this was in El Paso, and it was just so many that CBP was just letting some of them right out onto the streets after crossing illegally, because apparently Biden shut down the program that Trump had. Now, when Trump was president, Trump said, you have to stay in Mexico while you're being processed. You're not dare being let onto our streets whatsoever, or let into a tent or a prison or anything in America. You get sent straight back to Mexico when you're caught at our border, and then we can figure out whether you're really let in.
Right.
But now that Biden has shut that down, and CBP is overwhelmed, they're just letting some of these people out, which only encourages more to come.
Absolutely insane. And I've been to El Paso, I mean, within this long season of open porous borders. And it's usually, it's funny to see this because it's usually pretty not busy, I guess. There are crossings, don't get me wrong, but it's not like you see something like this like in South Texas, Eagle Pass, maybe La
But
Jolla,
like not
Roma.
even like you've seen something this bad
This
before?
is insanity. I have never seen anything this bad. Like I said, the only thing that's comparable is maybe Eagle Pass, because there are crossings every single day at a private land that a lot of people don't know about. And it's a question as to why this private land allows so many crossings. But anyway, like this is insanity, and it is a testament. It is a testament that the border is definitely not secure, and they're actually influxing people, what seems to be on purpose, in my personal opinion, because they are allowing more BP agents leave and quit. A lot of them are self-deleting themselves. Like that's another whole.
It's a demoralizing job.
It is horrible.
Especially when a lot of the CBP agents realize that their job is actually to bring these people in. They think they're secure. They think they're securing the border. Now, I talked to CBP and they told me a lot of these agents are actually hoping to get the job at the Canadian border, but obviously that border is not needed as much. So they get the job where they don't want it, on the southern border.
Right.
And they think they'll be guarding the border, and actually Biden's orders are to bring these people in on bus after bus after bus. And it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And I met these agents. I watched them. What are you doing? You're meeting these people who violated our federal law, and you're bringing them in. You're putting them on a warm Customs and Border Patrol van.
Yeah.
And bringing them further into the U.S.
And then like that, like, do we even touch on the HHS issue that Project Veritas recently, broke open, which has been kind of like an open secret for a lot of people, especially those who report on, human T-wording and the border and things like that. Like a lot of people know about the HHS problem, but this was fleshed out before our eyes with the children, being transported and put here and there knowingly by the HHS. And when I say here and there, it's like more nefarious. I just can't say it because we're on YouTube.
Wow. Yeah. It's so horrifying. Project Veritas actually interviews these young children. If you haven't seen it, it's absolutely sickening that their parents send them off for a better life, and these children get trafficked. Into sex and who knows what else.
Yeah, it's horrible. And these are things that, like, it's helpless when you are at the border and you actually see these children cross over, and there's nothing you can do because they are already in BP custody, and then they get entered into the HHS system, which is the office. But the Office of Refugee Resettlement is a like child office of the HHS. Wow. So really, that's the whole processing system. And if you look at their guidelines, like if you look at their documentation, even they will tell you, like, yeah, we don't really vet these parent or these adults too much or too farther. It's just a horrible, I mean, and then when you see things like this, where there's like thousands of people crossing from Juarez to El Paso, it's like, how many situations are we looking at before our eyes like that, right? Like before our eyes. It's insane.
Yes, it is. And I know that when I covered the border, I was grilling DHS and CBP about what's your protocol on who gets in, who doesn't, who goes where.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's an issue we can't discuss.
Of course.
And I've watched mainstream media reports from local reporters, like NBC affiliate stuff, asking the same thing and having the same struggle response. So there's like this silence from our federal government on what is really going on with our own government trafficking foreign nationals in.
Absolutely.
It's really freaking insane.
It's really insane. It's so sad. And You know, it really is it's a very dark topic, right? That we have to keep talking about. Unfortunately, we the people have to keep talking about, right? And we have to keep resuscitating it over and over, because as we speak every single second, as if the human T-wording statistics were already bad enough, this is just appending and compounding on top of a problem that we already had domestically. So now, you know, it's like, what do? We have to keep talking about it. We have to keep fleshing it out.
Yeah. So my friend Steve Baker, who's an independent journalist, you know him? He's been on my YouTube a few times.
I'm not sure that I've met him before.
So he was in Houston visiting. He actually lives in the Carolinas, but he was catching up with an old friend from a few decades ago, and here in Houston. And she's like, yeah, so me and my church group, we went out to help these young migrant girls who were staying under a bridge in Houston. We got them Chick-fil-A. And Steve's like, excuse me? Like underage migrant girls living under a bridge?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, they were very frightened, and like they had like handlers or something under there.
Of course.
And we fed them Chick-fil-A a few times, and they had like diseases, and they were like in really bad shape. They were getting raped out there.
Oh no.
It was absolutely horrifying. So she drops this bomb on Steve, and he's like, what the heck, you know, because she's not in journalism or anything, you know, like the gravity of this. And she also doesn't trust the police. Like, why didn't you call the police? So Steve comes back to Houston just to investigate this, and I went out with him a few times hunting through Houston to try to find these girls, but they were being trafficked through, so they had already been moved through.
Of course.
But she showed the location where these girls had been hidden.
Yeah.
It's crazy in a huge city like Houston. I think it's fourth most populous city in America now. It's growing by leaps and bounds, being so close to the border.
Yeah.
And so these girls, it's insane. In the middle of a very populous, huge city, we have an absolute jungle.
Yeah.
Like, we have wilderness. I drove in, I've been in every corner of Houston as a reporter for 4 years. And I saw parts of Houston I had never seen before being taken to where these girls had been smuggled. Like, there is a jungle in the middle of Houston with like easily you can hide people.
A jungle in the middle of Houston?
And abandoned buildings in this jungle where it's woods and grass, and there's these little paths and what appeared to be like some sort of gangbangers out there. And I was like, Steve, we might want to turn around at this point.
Right.
But it was really interesting. So we never found the girls. They'd already been sent through. But it was after that we started to hear very similar reports in mainstream media, and then Project Veritas, of these children being trafficked through, and in some cases being set up by our federal government at a sponsor's home because some random person wants to be their sponsor, and then the child goes missing.
Right.
And the sponsor's like, well, the child didn't want to be with me anymore. They're gone.
Yeah.
So it's just really sickening to think about.
And they admitted this last year. They admitted this when Axios did a FOIA request, and they found out that about, I believe it was like they said 1/4, but I believe it's, or maybe it was actually 1/3 of the children. This was early on in the infancy stages of this whole influx, right? But they found out that 1/3 of these children couldn't be contacted anymore. So that coincides with what you're saying.
Yes.
They enter them into the system, and they willingly just turn a blind eye and just, that you never, and that's what should disturb everybody's heart about this, and should scar us to find out, because those type of mysteries are just not like, these are actual human beings. These are actual children that are entering our society, and they're being taken in the most nefarious situations. Right. And it could be the finite moment of their living existence. Crazy.
Yeah, I really hope this somehow reaches the international audience so that these families in these other countries who are willingly sending their child alone realize the danger, because I wonder what sort of propaganda is being fed to these families that they are willing to send the child off.
Right.
You know, I feel that they are being told that the child's going to be set up for this cushy life.
Yeah.
And it's actually the exact opposite.
Exactly.
So another crazy headline. Now this really felt like it was, you know, it had to be fake news. But we have this headline. This is actually from Fortune magazine. And it says, people who skipped their needle in the arm are at higher risk of traffic accidents. I'm sure you saw this.
Oh, no, I did not.
People who didn't get the new needle technology are going to have, look at this. This is actually from Fortune magazine. What is going on? Breaking news this week.
So my wig is snatched.
If you pass on getting that needle, you might be a lot more likely to get in a crash, says Fortune. And I'm just going to read some of the most insane highlight. They said, quote, they found that this is actually a study in the American Journal of Medicine. American Journal of Medicine. How about you get to the bottom of like some real health issues? But no, they are saying that if you don't get the needle in the arm, you're going to crash your car. So it says here, quote, they found that the unneedled people were 72% more likely to be involved in a severe crash in which at least one person was transported to the hospital than those who had the needle.
Wow.
That's similar to the increased risk of car crashes from sleep apnea. So you're like, if you haven't had the needle, you're basically driving asleep.
Oh my goodness.
They said the authors theorized that the people who resist public health recommendations might also neglect basic road safety guidelines.
Whoa.
And they said, why would they ignore the rules of the road? Distrust in government.
Dude.
A belief in freedom. It literally says this.
Whoa.
Distrust in government and a belief in freedom could cause you to get in a crash.
This is insane. But listen, just like what we discussed earlier when they're saying, oh yeah, the border's secure, like it's like very obvious things that are like lies. They're really grasping for straws at this very moment. I mean, if they want to investigate something, if they want to get to the bottom of something, how about the people who suddenly, you know what I mean?
Passed away.
Who suddenly don't exist anymore,
right?
And just passed out in the fields and stuff. Like,
right. It's been happening a lot. It's
this
really
is nefarious. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they said a belief in freedom, misconception of daily risk, faith in natural protection. How dare they? As well as poverty. If you're poor, you probably don't want to get the needle. So they said the findings are significant enough that primary care doctors should consider counseling unneedled patients on traffic safety. You go in for your annual checkup, your doctor is going to be like, by the way, let me give you some basic safe driving tips.
My gosh, what is this? The DHS, the DOT? Like what?
But here's the worst one that really applies to all of us. It says here, and insurance companies might base changes to insurance policies on the needle status. And the authors of this study in the American Journal of Medicine is recommending that insurance companies raise your rate because you didn't get some experimental thing.
You've got to be kidding me right now. You've got to be kidding me right now.
And
can you imagine? Okay, so I used to sell a property and casualty insurance back in college, right? That's what also put bread and butter on the table besides makeup artistry. And like I learned all of these things. Imagine like the underwriters going through the MVR, which is a motor vehicle report, right? And they look at all your past history, like. So what is proposed here? So we're gonna share our medical history with an NVR to assess and determine our insurance rates. Like, what is this?
Yeah, it's pretty disturbing. Okay, we have a chat from Zan. Quote, they were trying to claim that people who listen to rock music have more accidents than people who listen to classical music in the car radio about 10 years ago.
I listen to more rock music than anything, and I haven't been in a car accident in a long
there
time.
you go. See, there you go. So yeah, if any of the insurance companies jack up the rates, then people are going to be ditching the insurance company. So hopefully the free market will handle this. Mark says your insurance is going up and it's based on a social credit score. Okay, this is where it's going. Okay. Yeah, a lot of people are concerned about this whole social credit score thing, which is already happening in action in China.
Yeah.
If you don't follow the government's social program, you get locked out of being able to make purchases or travel places.
Yeah.
Doors physically won't open for you.
This reminds me of the movie Divergent. Have you seen that movie?
No.
Oh gosh, should we
watch it tonight?
Well, we have to watch Romeo and Michelle before anything.
We're doing a Christmas party. Christmas party tonight.
We have to watch Romeo and Michelle. But okay, in the movie Divergent, I'm not spoiling it, but they have different like factions of people. Like some people are I think it's called erudites. So these are like the intellectuals, and they do a lot of the research and development in their society. There's Dauntless, who dress in all black. They're like the soldiers of the society. They protect their whatever. And then there's the other ones that are hippies. So they like, farm all day. And then the other ones that are candor, which is like the legal system of the society, right? And then there was like a small faction that was like the factionless. So they're like kind of like the homeless, but they're like they're not tied to the system. And but that's the thing, like they don't, right? They're not kind of recognized by society. They just kind of have to meander through. That's what it kind of reminds me of, like when we talk about these social credit things, like it makes me wonder if there is going to be like some sort of underground culture where like we essentially have to be forced into that type of culture where we're just not tied to the system. I don't know how that's going to look, but
wow.
Demolition. Oh, I haven't seen that movie, but I have to watch it.
Exactly what you're talking
I'll have to watch it.
Wow, that's scary stuff. I know that's why a lot of Americans are concerned about central bank digital currency, which Biden wants to implement and which Congress has been looking at implementing. We have our own members of Congress pushing this, so you should probably have voted those people out if you're concerned about this. But central bank digital currency, the concern that if you're not following the government's social program, they'll just shut down your bank account and all your money goes away. Now, it's not too hard for them to do that right now because they're such good friends with the big banks, and we have seen big banks like Wells Fargo do this to people, like certain MAGA people that they didn't like.
Right.
And there was a lot of uproar, and I think what happened when Wells Fargo tried that out is a lot of people ended their Wells Fargo bank accounts. So once again, the free market stepping in to stop it. Wells Fargo saying, "Oh yikes, we're getting big repercussions for cracking down on someone unjustly." And so Wells Fargo pushes back against Biden and says, I don't want to be your yes man. You handle this in another way if you don't like this person. So I think that's why Biden is saying, let's do a central bank digital currency, because if the federal government now becomes our bank,
right,
there's no free market pushback anymore. You can't just quit that bank account and go to Chase or whoever else. You have no other option.
Right.
So it is a scary concept.
It is a very scary concept. And you know what's so freaking ironic and so hilarious? Sam Bankman-Fried and his whole, his whole people, 10 million or $10 billion that just like.
Oh yeah, I think 10 billion.
$10 billion. We don't know where it went. Oops.
Wow.
So and then our governmental structures, they can't even account for money that got spent somewhere. But if you spend $601, like you have to report that to the IRS. Like this is crazy.
Oh,
like,
sure. Oh, for
you know
sure.
what I mean? Like I'll be factionless. That's okay. Like
exactly.
I'll live without the society faction system, dude. I don't know. Like that's completely insane. But also kind of what's encouraging to me is that like they have it seems to be, in my personal opinion, that they don't really have a sense of absolute control over our entire society. I mean, I guess I'm more optimistic when it comes to these things, although it kind of looks crazy and scary in our modern day. But like, for instance, like I think seeing things like, Twitter, like people taking the economy back in their hands, right? And you see all these other patriotic companies kind of popping up, and I think we truly can turn the tide. And because because the elite and the left, I guess, more of that side has gained such a control system over our culture for hundreds upon hundreds of years. That's what we're fighting against right now. But I do believe, because more and more people are waking up to it, we can take it back. But it is going to take a little bit more boldness on the part of everyday people to say, yes, I do want to take that back. I do want my culture essentially shifted and the tide turned. And I will be a participant in that. So I think
Totally.
I think I have a positive outlook on things. I think, if we hadn't had this bump in the road of, conservatism kind of waking people up, what a lot of people like to call the Great Awakening happening in the last few years, we would have just kind of meandered through our life and not known that this entire power structure was in control.
Right.
You know what I
So
mean?
so many eyes have been opened.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it takes people who are aware of the corruption being willing to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think that the establishment is using peer pressure to encourage people to not talk about stuff. In their big word they throw out is conspiracy theory. Ooh, you're a conspiracy theorist if you talk about that.
Right.
And let me bring you guys to the next conspiracy theory. Seth Rich. There's new developments on Seth Rich that nobody's covering. And you know why nobody's covering? They don't want to be conspiracy theorists, but it's true.
Oh, I love that you're covering it.
Okay, the FBI has admitted they have 2 Seth Rich laptops. They have his work laptop and his personal laptop, and thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of pages.
My wig is snatched essentially once again.
Okay, we have so the only people covering this is Epic Times, which YouTube hates. Hopefully YouTube doesn't ban me for showing their report, but here it is.
Hopefully not.
The FBI revealing that it has more information on Seth Rich. He was the former staffer at the Democratic National Committee killed in 2016. The FBI says it has a laptop owned by Rich. It's believed to be his work computer. And the Bureau also has a report detailing forensic imaging of the computer. The FBI Records Office found the materials through an unnamed special agent while looking for the computer. None of these records were previously indexed to Rich. Authorities say Rich was shot when a robbery went wrong, but rumors persist that he was involved with WikiLeaks, and a Texas resident filed a lawsuit against the FBI requesting records on Rich. The FBI now wants the court to agree to keep the laptop shielded. They argue that it is not a subject to Freedom of Information request because it is physical material, not a record, and agents did not rely on it.
Can you believe that the FBI is trying to not, to this day, because a judge court ordered the FBI to release all these documents under the Freedom of Information Act request. By law, they have to reveal what's on that laptop. They were supposed to do that in September. And the FBI has been pushing back, getting continuance after continuance. And this month, their new continuance argument is that, it's a physical material. It's not a document. It's a laptop. But there's freaking documents on the laptop. Just freaking show us what it is.
Right. So
what is the FBI hiding in regards to Seth Rich?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, there's so many, and see, if you don't want us to conspire on a theory, show us.
Exactly.
Like if you don't want us to theorize about what is on this laptop, then what the heck? Like, why are we doing this? I think that this is. I think that this has been one of the greatest mysteries in recent years. Everybody has been wanting to know, and a lot of people have. They have had these suspicions about what exactly he was off about, or
Yes, for people who don't know, he was murdered in the darkness tonight, 4 a.m. walking home from a bar, 2016. And then after that, the DNC emails were leaked from WikiLeaks, and the word is, a lot of people are speculating that Seth Rich released these emails to WikiLeaks, which expose how Hillary's establishment Democrats actually rigged. I'm not supposed to say that word on YouTube, but they rigged
cheese selections.
I don't know how to say it. How do you say it?
Cheese.
I don't know.
Blue cheese, red, cheddar cheese. Which cheese do you like? That happens every 4 years?
And basically, they screwed Bernie. Bernie Sanders was not the chosen one.
Yeah.
And Seth Rich, being a proud little millennial Democrat, probably loved Bernie. And he's like, I'm going to out these people. But much more was revealed. It was a huge email dump. So tons of things were revealed in there. So Epoch Times was reporting that journalist Cy Hirsch said a source told him around 2017 about an FBI report on Rich. According to the source, Rich's computer showed the DNC staffer had relayed DNC documents to WikiLeaks, a pro-transparency group. Hirsch spoke about the source's claims during a phone call with Ed Butowski, an investigator who later retracted claims about Rich's brother Aaron being a WikiLeaks source as well. And then they said authorities have alleged that Russians hacked the DNC system. So again, anytime something goes wrong for Democrats, it was the Russians.
Right.
Okay, so no, it wasn't one of our own guys, Seth Rich. It was the Russians who hacked.
Of course.
Those allegations were made before the FBI received images from the DNC server to determine their validity. The agent claimed that disclosure of the records would harm an FBI investigation into allegations that Russians had hacked into U.S. systems. No joke, because if you show it was actually Seth and not Russians, that definitely harms your little plan about Russia.
Exactly.
And then it says in 2020, this is insane. In 2020, for the first time, the FBI admitted it had files from a computer belonging to Rich. So they lied for years. In 2020, they were forced to say the truth, that they had his documents the whole time. It says some of those files were then released to Huddleston and made public. Huddleston's the one who sued under the Freedom of Information Act request to get those public. And when they were made public, it included documents that appear to suggest that someone could have paid for Seth Rich's death.
Whoa.
Why is nobody covering this?
I mean, I'm gonna have to go look into it because you're the first one that broke it to me. So
yeah, I'm just reading Epoch Times. By the way, Epoch Times. This is why I love Epoch Times. They're a phenomenal outlet who helps fill in the blanks that the mainstream media refuses to. You guys can get a discount subscription to them through me. I read Epoch.com. Keyword Ivory. Type in Ivory to get your big discount on a subscription to that.
Awesome.
Okay. Anyway, so let's switch to something lighter, you guys.
Oh my gosh.
Politics is sharing a news report that says tramp stamps are back.
Oh my gosh.
Check out this Instagram page. Tramp stamps are back in style. Natalie, do you have a tramp stamp? This is Truth Bombs.
I do not. No, this is Truth Bombs. I do not. Let me tell you though. As an adolescent, when I was a kid, I seriously used to think, like, because I'm a 90s kid, right? Like, or like I was born in 89, but I grew up mostly in the 90s.
89, you and me both. 89,
yeah. So
yes.
we have like this debate because people are like, you're an 80s kid. I'm like, no, I'm a 90s kid. I grew up in the 90s. So, okay, in the 90s, when I was a kid, I grew, growing up in the 90s, you would see a lot of this, like, in pop culture, you see these tattoos, and I was like, I want one when I get older. I want one of those tattoos. It wasn't known as a tramp stamp until maybe later, but
right. So I think this is the phase Gen X went through, and then they regretted it. And millennials got to sit and watch Gen X regret their tramp stamp. So I think the majority of millennials do not have tramp stamps because they learned from Gen X's regret. Gen Z comes along and they were too young to see Gen X have regret. So now Gen Z is about to create its own regret. We go through these generations.
Yikes-a-ronies. Yeah, I don't think I would ever get a tramp stamp personally. I mean, I don't know. I guess that is the reasoning, right? We just saw the regret so much growing up. Yeah. And it's like, and then you saw like the entertainment sort of media outlets call it that, and they wouldn't let it go. So it's like, I guess that's permanently etched in my head.
Maybe we need to blame the media for people regretting that tattoo to begin with. When you really think about it, it's like, why do people regret that tattoo?
Oh my gosh.
You can put a tattoo anywhere and it's fine, but if it's right there, it's not.
Right.
Because media created some buzzword about it.
We should do temporary tramp stamp tattoos for a week. and document it.
bring to see how we feel.
Yeah, we
Does
should
it make me feel like a tramp?
we should do a 7-day vlog where we're flipping back and forth. Natalie,
No,
Natalie with her.
let's put on fake tramp stamps and like go out to a bar and show them and see how like guys react. Like, hey, will you asked for my number? Will you still
would you
take my
date
number
me? Would you
because
date
I
me if I
have
had a
this?
tramp stamp? Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That is a perfect experiment for both of us.
Are you sure you want my number?
Yeah. Oh, just some angel wings hanging out on my handles. There you go. Oh man, that's hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean permanently, yeah, you won't catch me with that. I mean, I got my 3 tattoos, and I think I'm good.
I see one right there.
Yeah.
Nice.
My tiny well, this one's not really tiny, but you know, I don't think I'll be getting it in that area.
I have too many commitment issues to have a tattoo. I was always like, I just know I'm going to regret it. I hate being too.
You know, though, I think like the Generation X, when they got that, I do feel like people still kind of get the tattoos the way Generation X got that tattoo. Like some people document and memorialize like their moments in life, and that's how some people get their tattoos, where they're just like telling an entire story until they have a sleeve, right?
That's good. That's it. I mean, I respect tattoos a little bit more than that. One time, I mean, the guy that I actually dated the longest, he was like, yeah, I think I'm going to get a tattoo. I was like, why? He was like, I don't know. I guess I just should. I think I'm going to get like a skull and roses. I was like, why? What is that significant to you?
Yeah. Exactly.
Or are you just doing that because other people have skull and roses?
Yeah.
And you have no, like skulls and roses don't mean anything to you? You're just copying people?
You know, you say that and it brings something up, because a lot of the guys back in, or the Generation X and the 90s kids, they got a lot of tribal tattoos. And nowadays it's kind of like the same thing, right? As a tramp stamp, like a lot of people are like, right? Like a lot of people see the guys' tribal tattoos and they're like, oh, dude, you know, and it's like, well, especially more so because cultural appropriation became a thing, you know, throughout our thousands, right? So a lot of people are like really like culture shaming or whatever, like you can't wear that because you're not native or blah 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 blah, you don't come from that tribe, blah blah blah. So a lot of that actually transpired as well. But if you think about it, like guys kind of had the same thing with the tramp stamp. That's like equivalent of the tramp stamp is the tribal tattoos.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think of that. Okay, let's check the comment section, you guys.
Sorry for bringing that up.
Sorry for the offense. What are people saying? Oh, thanks for the super chat, Mark. Thanks for the super sticker. That means a lot. Yeah, we want to make sure to show any super chats. Yeah, some people are really into it. Most tat addicts just do it for the feels.
Yeah,
you know, I what I always thought, if a guy has a lot of tattoos and he has like emotional trauma, I think men with a lot of tattoos have emotional trauma.
Ooh,
that's how they wear their trauma.
That explains a lot.
So, girl, stop dating guys with all the tattoos. That's what I learned. No, the guy that I dated with the most tattoos, he had some issues.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Queen, for the comment. If you tramp stamp it, you intend on a lot of people seeing that SHIT. Yeah. That means, oh yeah, because if you get it there, you want people to see that tattoo, and it takes like But let me just say, for Gen X's, you know, to support them, that when low-rise jeans came in, then anyone can see the tramp stamp. So it wasn't meant for the people it's not meant for the people you hook up with. It's for everyone because your pants are so low.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. You're right. A lot of the low-rise, especially in the early thousands, like transitioning from the 90s, like the low-rise really came in style. So
thank you to 100 Watt Studio for the super chat. Happy Friday, ladies. Looking fantastic. Thanks. We're the yin and yang. We didn't even plan it.
I know.
Mark says, did y'all plan on looking like the Masonic checkerboard?
Oh my gosh. Of course.
What is the Masonic checkerboard? This is my thing. Ever since I went independent, people be throwing this stuff at me.
Let me explain, because I get accused so much. Okay. I don't know who needs to hear this, but all shapes, all colors don't, just because we like a certain color palette does not mean that we're part of a secret society.
Right.
My guy. Like sometimes we just like me personally, like this person who just commented the Masonic blah blah blah, if they go to my channel they're gonna have a heart attack because I love black and white. That's my favorite color palette.
Wow.
My favorite color palette ever.
Well, you know, I have a similar situation because, okay, let me say, you know, all the jewelry with like initials, like Natalie, you probably like to wear a little N.
Yeah.
Jewelry with an I was never created. So then one day I went to a market and they were selling jewelry with an eyeball, not the I letter. And I was like, I love that. That stands for ivory. So I started wearing eye jewelry. I go independent and wear it on my show and people flip out.
Yeah.
Apparently it means like Illuminati.
You're illuminate. Me and my influencer friends, we have like an inside joke for all the like the followers out there that are like shapes, illuminate confirmed. And like we make that joke with each other because it's like, this is ridiculous. Like you can't make any shape. You can't have any shapes in your house or your decor or anything.
Don't do anything with your
can't do
hands.
anything.
Hand
me
gestures.
sit on my hands. Like can't do
so
anything.
my first independent report, apparently when I was talking on TV, I like did something with my hands right here and like people screenshotted it.
And they drew a triangle.
I guess it was a triangle. I don't know. I was just talking like this. I guess it was a triangle and our triangle something like I didn't even know. I was just talking, and then people are tweeting at me like, "Do you have a response to this?" And I was like,
"Dude, I know.
I'm trying to shed light on medical truths in regards to the pandemic."
Sometimes we just don't know what to do with our hands, you know. And if somebody does this like really quick and screenshots that, they're gonna say, "Oh my gosh, Nat, like through the sign." But the thing is, like, people forget that we're actual human beings. Like we actually have lives that are normal. Like we don't, like, if we had any sort of secret society deal, like I got the sucky end of that deal. Like right. You know, like there's I got the sucky end of that deal. But no, I mean, I truly do love black. Actually, somebody asked me last night in my comment section, like, I love your work, but why do you work so much black? I'm just like a goth, guys. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I listen to a lot of rock music. My closet is nothing but black. That's just my color. I just love black, right? So it's like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to continue wearing black. Ivory's going to continue wearing the color she wants, despite what people might make up about, like, I guess, what platformed people or platforms, like people in their platforms. It's just like crazy.
They trash talk me for dressing like glam because I dress like some like Fashion Nova girl.
Crazy.
And I'm like, guys, I'm a girly glam girl. I like to dress pretty and wear heels and show my skin sometimes.
And you're gonna keep
people
doing
are like,
it.
oh, I thought she was such a noble journalist, and now I saw like part of her leg, and now she's evil.
Dude, I'm like, and like the thing is, like, I also, you know, had a knack for Tim Burton, like growing up. Like I loved Tim Burton, everything. I loved his movies and everything, and so some of my style is kind of influenced by that. Like I kind of do like not the super like Balenciaga type of macabre, but like, you know, like dark colors, dark moody things, you know what I mean? So you know, a lot of people got really puritanical. This is what happened. I'll tell you what happened. People unwired from the mainstream media because they found out how bad it was, right? So the moment that they unwired, then they started following their influencers, right? So you had like media personalities, podcasters who were delivering their news essentially, because they had to unwire themselves from the mainstream media. And so either the influencer may have led that person to believe that every single thing that is black and white or has a particular shape, for instance, like when the pedofifi symbols got declassified back in 2012 or 2015 or 2014, something like that. Like every single triangle now is associated with like either the Illuminati, or with the pedofifi symbol. Any swirl is considered the pedo. And although there are certain shapes, the point that I'm trying to make is like everybody loses their context with the declassified pedofifi symbols. So that's just an example. But, you know, the Illuminati, for instance, when you see a lot of like their type of campy photos, there is a checkerboard floor that they have that is black and white. But does that equate everything black and white? Like are we the Illuminati just because we happen to wear like black and white, which I had no knowledge that you were going to wear white.
Right.
I always wear black. You guys can go over my story. So it's like things like this, right? It doesn't become fair, but I mean, we're going to continue dressing the way we dress. We're going to continue having the, like, so long as we're not hurting anybody or we're not promoting the hurt or harm of another individual. Like what we do is like what we do. This is what our interests are. We like to dress the way we like to dress. We like to, you know, have decor that is not nefarious. Like, but it doesn't mean that just because you have a shape, we're part of the Illuminati. That's crazy to me.
Absolutely. So
You know.
you gotta use your discernment.
Let me watch my hands.
And
before-
like Jesus said, by their fruits you'll know them. So
Right.
what are we really?
Could you guys tell
You know,
that?
are we helping or hurting the world with our lives?
Could you tell that I had that rant built up and pent it up inside of me? Because it's like, it's absolutely crazy to me. Like,
Yeah.
it's funny coming across other influencers or other personalities like Ivory, because it's like, we go through the same thing and it's like, this
Yeah.
is crazy. Like, we really have internal conversations where like, this is crazy. Like, if you have a shape, you shouldn't be, you know, thought of as like this person, right? Like,
Totally.
I'm gonna make a video. You've inspired me.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in the conversation. Be sure to follow Natalie Denise on her YouTube. I linked it down in my description. And you'll probably
guys.
see her on my Instagram too, because we're friends here in Houston.
Yes,
And
that's right.
we're about to turn up with a Christmas party at my house commencing now. So you guys have a
I gotta
great
change it to my
weekend.
sweater.
And check our social media for our party. Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
Happy weekend.
Yeah,
and Merry
it's
Christmas.
empty. Merry
Bye.
Christmas, guys. Sorry, I had that like long Latina